Hi, it's Rupert Hine here from Action Coach Dave Kinross. I'm joined today by Charlie Winton of OK Positive. Morning, Charlie.
Morning. How you doing? Well, happy New Year, isn't it? Or it's probably a bit late for that, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, thank you for joining us. So, just tell us a little bit about what is OK Positive.
So essentially, our platform was designed to be a preventative measure for individuals. So it's centered around mental health. I think everyone now is more than aware that we've got a fair amount of crises going on across the UK and actually the globe. And a lot of our resources are reactive, so waiting for people to get to a crisis point and then offering them therapy, counselling, or the NHS. And we wanted to find a way to help people to understand themselves, build their self-awareness, and really just understand what they can do for themselves, because we do that for physical health. We've been quite good at, 10,000 steps, all these different ways of monitoring our physical health, our nutrition, our sleep, but we don't focus on probably what's the most important thing, which is our mental side of things. So we wanted to create a platform that would help individuals to log and understand what they're feeling and get support resources and services instantly based on what it is that they're actually going through, rather than here's generic mindfulness or content that you can consume in a social media format. And we then worked with companies to look at their staff retention. It's all anonymous, so people are safe to basically speak their mind. And then we've now moved into kind of education sector, charitable sector, and public healthcare. So yeah, in essence, we're a mental health Fitbit that learns from you and starts helping you along your journey on what you're going through on a day-to-day basis.
Fantastic. So you've been going what, about 4 years?
4.5, coming up to 5 this year. So yeah, it's been a long old slog. Or we're young, aren't we? We're basically a toddlerish in business terms. But yeah, it's we started in July 2019, or that was when I did the £12 on Companies House to register the business. Um,
Yeah. And yeah, I mean that's 4.5 years, coming on five. It's you're clearly doing some things right. You've just been awarded one of the top 100 startups in the UK. It's a fairly elite club.
Yeah, it's lovely to get recognition around that, particularly for the team, because we as all startup founders will know, you slog behind, it's a duck going along and you see the nice feathers and it's all looking calm, but underneath everything's turmoil and splashing and flapping around. So it's been a lot of work, and a lot of heart and passion and soul has been put into this business, because it's not really, we're not sitting here going money, money, money. It's not selling cigarettes or selling, or selling something like cryptocurrency, but which is financially incentivized. This is about, we do want to help people, and money is a byproduct of it, really. So yeah, essentially it's great recognition, but we've got a lot of work to do, and I think it's been tough out there, particularly 2023 for a lot of businesses. So 2024 is going to be even more of a challenge, but hopefully more kind of blue skies ahead rather than stormy winds.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, well done on that. It's a business driven by passion. What what prompted you to start the business in the first place?
Selfish reasons, really. I hit a mental health crisis point at work and realized I wasn't the only one. And selfishly, I didn't find any of the kind of measures that currently exist for individuals to do it for themselves to work. Found that mindfulness, while it's a great technique, is just a plaster to a situation if you're struggling with, your relationship, or you're struggling with your work, or you're struggling with your financial situation. So I wanted to understand the root cause of what was going on for me, because it's not apparent when you're in the trenches, or you're struggling or going through something. You're kind of living day to day and trying to get through it. It's very difficult to sit back and go, right, what's going on for me? What's good? What's bad? What can I improve on? And I wanted to try and take a little bit of that away from myself, so that I can understand what things I could do to help myself, whether that is going to services and getting support, or is it something that I can start doing for myself at an earlier stage. So yeah, came from a crisis point of me. It came from my family and friends telling me I wasn't the same person. It came from drinking too much and eating too much and not exercising, not looking after myself, and basically spiraling into a situation where I wasn't happy with who I was and wanted to kind of stop people from getting to that point themselves, because it goes one of two ways when you get to that point in this world. And we are all pretty familiar with with the issues around suicide in not just the UK, but across the globe. How do we prevent that? Well, we've got to incentivize and encourage and engage people to do it for themselves, because at the end of the day, you're the only one who can control your behavior and the way that you see the world. And so that's really, it was a selfish reason to help myself, and just realized during that process that other people would be going through similar things.
Yeah, so that's the driver. Pretty powerful driver. There's quite a lot in between knowing you want to do something to get some help, to help yourself and help others, and creating something which is now helping people across business.
Yeah, it's a long journey. I remember speaking to my dad beforehand and my brothers around this. One of my brothers being my biggest critic. So if I could pass him on a business plan, I could pass anyone. I wasn't afraid of anything, because he'd rip me apart for it, in a good way. Love him very much. But yeah, basically, it was the journey of, is this something I can do? Is it something I'm capable of? I didn't know that. Is it something that I had life savings to put into to get going? Yes, I had a little bit of money that I could do, that I could use. And I read a book called The Lean Startup, which was suggested from a friend of mine who'd been running a successful business for 3-4 years, and read it and learned about build, measure, learn. And it made things a little bit more simplified for me, in the sense that just start the first thing, which I looked at the first thing of starting a business. It was paying £12 on Company's House. I was like, great, I've got a business now. I'm a business owner, multi-millionaire, Richard Branson, rubbish. Yeah, no. And then it was like, well, what's the next step? And what's the next step? And kind of went without a plan necessarily, but more, what's the next thing that I need to do to get this off the ground? So I know I need a tech platform, but how do I start? I need to get people to want to buy it. So I went out and I looked at the market. I spoke to people. I built a prototype, essentially, which was a demo. It wasn't even a real thing, and won a pitch for business from a big investment firm against a Series A £50 million funded mental health platform. So I was like, well, we've got something here. The issue was I didn't have a platform to sell them afterwards. They were like, okay, how much will this cost? I was like, you're gonna have to help me build it. And they were like, well, we didn't, that we can't do. We don't have that fund level at that point. But for me, it gave validation. And then from there, it was really just onto the next thing, build it in steps, walk before you can run. I was lucky in the sense that I worked at another business, and I did this in my free time. So there was no pressure to begin with. And this was just before COVID, really, when that all kicked off. And I kind of went step by step until a point came where I was like, well, actually, this is starting to work, and I'm starting to get a bit of traction. I'm starting to get too busy. So I needed to quit my job and move across. So yeah, it was a gradual process, but it was all the kind of things that you see online when you look up starting a business, all the things, if you listen to founders, they talk about. Some will go straight for money on an idea that's more American based, or some in the UK in particular will go, right, well, I need something tangible that people can see, feel, touch, and just go and sell it and see if it worked. And I was lucky I came from a sales background, so that was the only bit that I was relatively good at. The rest I had to build people around me, to a team around me, who are much smarter than me to do it.
Yeah, it's fascinating looking at the process that you've been through, but it's also interesting because you've got a pretty varied career background. So you've worked, as a cameraman in retail, you were in a comedy club, in a gym, you were laboring, hospitality, and sales. So how does the benefit of all of those different experiences help you when you come to form your own business?
Work, discipline, and networking. So essentially, I worked in so many different things. I was instilled in an early age that you have to go and make money. You have to go and earn it for yourself. I think I've been working since I was 15, 16, just not steady jobs, but bits and bobs here and there, always working to get the feel of it and enjoy it. And you'll meet people from different backgrounds. I met people out in Australia in scaffolding. I met people from America in ESPN. I met people in retail. You learn from all those different experiences, even if they're what people would consider kind of starter jobs or things that you do at university or college or after school. But you learn, you make relationships, you build relationships, you learn what, when you're working in hospitality. I think I've always been a big believer that everyone in the world should have to do a month of hospitality work, because the people in a bar or restaurant that haven't worked in hospitality because they're horrible to the staff, and you don't understand what it's like on the other side, the pressure you're under, the 17 different hats you have to wear. And so, yeah, I just kind of went through that process, and it led for me to come back. I was like, right, I want to start a career. And a mate of mine worked in recruitment. So I went and worked in recruitment, which is actually, ironically, where I had my mental health issues. So it was a blessing and a curse. And from there, I kind of realized what I wanted to do, because a lot of people that I talk to are terrified of, I need to know what I want to do. I need to know, this is my career path. This is what I'm doing. I'm going up and up and up, or moving from sector to sector, doing the same thing. And I was like, no, the variety of life is experiencing different things, meeting different people, because that's the only exciting bit. Like, a job's a job at the end of the day. And that's why they call it work, not fun. I mean, I wish I was a golfer, but yeah, even then, I imagine you speak to golfers who are professional, eventually it will become quite boring or mundane, or you have to do all the training, you have to travel. So you can suck the fun out of anything. But really, it was an accumulation of different experiences that went, well, what have I got to lose? I wasn't exactly a leader in any of the businesses that I'd worked in. I was just someone who'd gone, tried things, and learned from it. And that kind of hopefully led me in good stead, because I'd spoken to so many different types of people that talking to people was relatively easy. And I think that's something for the future generations that will be more difficult because of social media, because of people preferring to text rather than call, or call rather than meet people. So yeah, it was just an accumulation of different experiences that led me to go, actually, starting a business is about speaking to people. You've got to be comfortable being uncomfortable, and talking and selling yourself, selling what you're offering, no matter how it's done. So yeah, it all built up quite nicely, I think. But I didn't plan it. It just went, where's the next job? How can I get some more money? I need to pay for food and beer. But yeah.
Yeah, but the key to it there is that you may not have planned it, but what you have done, as you just said, is you've taken the learnings at every step of the journey.
Yeah,
And
it's like one of my most fun jobs, actually. It was one of the toughest. Scaffold laboring in Australia is 45-degree heat, walking around in sand, basically, on these construction sites. And there was one week, there was a team of 8 of us, and we were carrying a ton of steel each that week. And like, it hurts, but you get through it, and you work around teamwork, you work around hitting deadlines. Like, these are things that you can all transfer into the workplace. And recruitment was an interesting one for me, because it's one of the best training kind of industries you can go into, because you learn how to do a 360 business role. You know how to deal with clients, speak to people, sort out admin. You have to run everything, and it's incredibly stressful, and the industry itself doesn't look after the people very well. But it's one of the best ways to learn, but also any other job that you go into after that. So I moved into tech, and it was so much easier. So I was like, oh, I'm working at like 50% pace, and this is quick for here, because recruitment's too fast, arguably, and that's why people don't tend to stay in it unless they move up into management positions. So yeah, it's you've got to find things that you can learn. You can learn anything in any job. People just see it as for what it is. They go, oh, well, I'm doing this, I'm working in a bar. But think about how many interesting people you can meet, how you have to deal with rotas. I didn't realize I was working at that gym. I was a receptionist for a period, because I got paid more being a receptionist rather than an attendant. So I wanted that job, and also you get to sit and play on the computer all day. But I was doing bank reconciliations. It was only when I went to recruitment, in financial recruitment, that I realized that I was doing bank reconciliations. I could put that on my CV, because I was like, oh, no, I do all the cash at the end, and I put it all into the system, and I send it off to the bank in a check. And I was like, oh yeah, it's bank reconciliations. Didn't even realize I've been doing something for years that I was like, what are bank reconciliations? And I've been doing it for 2 years at university. So yeah, there's things you can learn if you're willing to look.
yeah, absolutely. So you've got the business this far. Where are you going? Where will OK Positive be in 5 or 10 years' time?
Well, we talk about blue sky thinking, or like we do goal orientated working. So what are our short, medium, and long-term goals? And we've gone through a little bit of a pivot, in the sense that our long-term goal is to prevent severe mental health issues, like through data, essentially, because our platform's anonymous, but we want to learn everything that works or doesn't work for individuals and groups, so that we can go, right, this group is similar to this group. and this group finds running has really helped them with their stress. So we'll suggest it to this group, and we'll do research. We've been doing research in the NHS. So we've kind of moved away from our core model of just corporate and realize actually it doesn't have to be OK Positive. We can work with other companies to utilize our technology. And we partner with them, and it can be theirs. So go and support foster carers, go and support adoption agencies, go and support housing associations and tenants and social housing. We can help general populations and hospices with patients, and it's any group that needs supported by an entity that can use our platform. So our aim over the next 5 years is to integrate ourselves across the UK and further abroad into bigger structures, rather than just knocking on doors and saying, hey, to a company, would you like to look at this support for your staff? Because that's becoming kind of knocking on a shut door, in the sense that companies don't really want to know what their people are feeling because there's liability there. Some do, and that's a discredit to some of the great companies out there, but it's actioning on the things that they find out. Like, you can give everyone a toothbrush in a business. If they don't brush their teeth, you're not getting any benefit from it. If you roll out a platform and don't tell anyone about it, or you don't actually listen to what they're saying and make actionable change, you're not going to do anything. But we believe that a patient in a GP practice, a tenant in a housing association, or a service user in a charity is very, very closely aligned, and they want that information. They want their feedback to be to the charity, and the charity themselves or that organization will want to make changes because it's part of their service. So yeah, our aim is to, we can talk about things like in business, well, I want 1 million users and all that sort of stuff. No, for us, we want a presence where everyone is using this platform across the UK, but doesn't even realize they are, but they're helping people with this research. Because we're seeing a load of things in data and data privacy and security that are quite scary across the UK and the globe. But this is an honest one. This is one where we're not interested in, it's Rupert or it's Charlie and he lives here or there and this is his age and gender or whatever it may be. We're interested in what you're feeling, why you're feeling it, what are you doing about it that's working, or what's working for you, so that we can help other people. So that's our aim, really. And then you've got medium-term goals, which are keeping the business alive and the lights on and making money and trying to find new customers, I guess.
Fantastic. So when you look back, you're 4.5 years in, what's the one piece of advice you would give your 18-year-old self?
Do it all again. Do it all again and make the same mistakes and learn from them each time. I've made probably 2 big mistakes since I started this business. Luckily, didn't affect us too badly. So I'd probably remind myself of those things. And I've always been someone that you trust your gut, but then I looked up some research that said your first option is often the wrong one. So when you're doing a quiz and you think, oh, it's this one, or it could be this one, go for the second one because your gut's usually wrong. But yeah, really for me, it would be just do it all again and do it with a smile on your face. I think quite often in starting a business, you get tunnel visioned and you hate day to day because you're like, I'm doing the same thing over and over again. But like you're your own boss. You've got a great team of people around you who are all pushing in the same direction. And these will probably, the journey is the most exciting bit I always talk about. With my OCD and anxiety and all the issues that I had when I was working in recruitment, I used to rush from my flat to work in the cold of winter in Edinburgh up Dundas Street, and I'd be sweating by the time I got there because I'm rushing, because I want to get from A to B. And it's the same thing in business, that you always want to get from A to B. You want the big deal, you want the big investment, you want this. As quickly as possible. Actually, the journey is the most fun bit. And if you ask all these founders that are now successful and they're sitting on their yachts or whatever it is, their islands, although that's a bit topical at the moment, they would probably turn around and say the best bits were when they just started out and they were living out their garage and they would do it because that was the journey. It was building something. So yeah, for me, my advice would be do it all again and don't put as much pressure on yourself to do it as quickly as you can.
Fantastic. That's been a fabulous conversation. It's brilliant meeting someone who is prepared to embrace the challenges, learn from them, and just keep learning at every opportunity. And when you've got a cause like yours that you've been able to build a business around, it's just awesome. So thank you very much for spending some time with us.
Thank
you. And very best of luck for the future.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.